Welcome back to the sweatshop. In today's video, we're going to be working on this 2001 BMW 525. What we're going to be showing you in today's video is basically how to diagnose a coolant leak. It's not something that's hard provided you have the right tools. This here is the right tool, at least we hope. Most of these kits back in the day came with 2 or 3 adapters. Now you can get kits that have a shit ton of adapters and they're like half the price of this wonderful snap-on unit. The snap-on unit itself, is it worth the big dollars? I don't know. I can't remember what I paid for this thing back in the day. I think I paid like probably $200-300 or something like that. They're probably worth the same amount, if not more now. But I wouldn't recommend getting this thing, to be honest, unless you're in the trade for the long haul. You can get various other types on many other platforms like Amazon, but I would get something that is a brand name. That way you know it's accurate and it's actually doing the job. These things can leak and they can give you false readings if you have a shitty tool, so make sure you get the right tool. What it is specifically is a cooling system tester. All it is basically just a pump with an adapter that you can pump air into the system to pressurize it in order to see where a leak may be coming from. There is a gauge on this one. Whatever tool you get, make sure there is a gauge. If it doesn't have a gauge, buddy, don't buy it, because you can pressurize the shit out of your cooling system and sometimes cause more problems than you can solve. That being said, you don't have to break the bank with getting one that is a brand name. Just make sure you get something that's decent and that will do the job. I'm going to be showing you how to go about diagnosing a coolant leak in this video, like I said, and I'm also going to be showing you what my process is. Everyone has their own process, so if you are competent in what you're doing and you can alter it in some way, go ahead. Have at her. That being said, what we're going to do now is basically open the hood, take a look underneath it. Of course, before we do that, do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. Yeah, let's go ahead, open the hood, and hopefully with this car sitting for so long, it opens without me having to do any sort of magic tricks, because, yeah, I love this body style, honestly. The E39 was one of the best BMWs ever made. Reliability-wise as well as look-wise. It's just a classical, nice-looking BMW. But yeah, anyhow, not like the ugly shit boxes that came out after. Those were ugly and kind of cheap, but anyhow, that's a personal opinion. It doesn't really matter. Anyhow, open the hood. Let's get going. There is our wonderful BMW engine and engine bay. If you know much about these, they came with 3 engines, 2 V8s, one that was a spectacular, revolutionary sort of V8 ahead of its time in the M5, and then you had the 540i, which was that was a regular V8 that wasn't anything really special, nice amount of torque, really fun to drive if you get it with a 6-speed, and then you had the 6-cylinder. I think there was 2 variants. There was either the 528 or 530 depending on the year, and then a 525, which this one is. Pretty much the same process for all of those cars as to how you diagnose your cooling system, and this goes for most other cars as well. But yeah, there's little things here and there. First thing you want to do is grab the appropriate adapter out of the box and make sure it will fit your cooling system. This system is pressurized through the overflow tank, or this is part of the cooling system on the pressure side. So what you want to do is basically look in here, make sure there is some coolant. You can see that little stick that's bobbing up and down. That guy there indicates that there is coolant in our system because it is buoyant, meaning that it's floating. What you're going to do is take this wonderful adapter and make sure that it fits. Doesn't fit, well, we're kind of shit out of luck and we're not going to be able to do this video. So yeah, make sure it fits. Okay. What you're going to do is get it on there. Now, before we pressurize the system, what I do is I try to get stuff that is in the way out of the way. What that means is that if there's anything that's kind of hindering our view of where it may be potentially leaking from, you want to pull it off the car. This fan shroud is a pain in the ass to get off, so we leave it alone unless we absolutely need to. But there is a belly pan or tray underneath the engine that can be removed relatively easily in order to help or assist in us finding where this goddamn leak is coming from. So let's put the car up now and we'll pull that thing off. We'll take a visual inspection before we start pressurizing, just to see where things are at, see if there are any drips, clean them up, of course, to make sure that you're not confused as to where it's coming out. Bring it back down, pressurize the system, and go from there. This is the belly pan, and on any car, whenever you're diagnosing any sort of leak, you want to get rid of these things so that you can see more clearly without having to deal with this shit on the car as you pressurize or do whatever as you're running it. It just doesn't make sense. So let's go ahead and remove it. There are 5 screws on either side, I believe. Just make sure you get all of them. There's one here, and they're all pretty much in the same place. So one here, you give it a little twist. As long as it comes out like so, you know it's disconnected. You'll need a number 3 Phillips, and that will do the trick. There we go. Yeah, I think there's one that's missing out of there. Yeah. No, there's 9 in total that hold it. So there's 4 on one side, 5 on the other. The side that you guys can see is 5. And what we're looking at basically is our engine and our radiator. Essentially, what you want to do is pressurize it and see where the leak comes from. But before you do that, the best form of practice is to look at everything in this area here or anywhere that there's coolant flowing through the engine or anywhere on the car and see if there are any leaks or residue. That will give you a clue potentially as to where you might have a leak. Of course, you want to look for any sort of dry, caked on residue or any wet spots. You're looking anywhere in this area here, in the radiator area, along any piece that may be wet. That way, before you pressurize it, you know whether that spot was dry or whether it was wet. Now, I'm going to go do that off camera because it's a good 5 to 10 minute process. You try to get as accurate of a look as you can and make sure that you can see everything. So make sure the area is well lit before you go ahead and start diagnosing it, because the last thing you want to do is diagnose it incorrectly. Look at that. You know, I did this reseal on the pan, I think, what, like 10 plus years ago now. She's still nice and goddamn dry. And that just shows you guys out there that when I say use silicone, it helps, because that is the silicone that I put on, and it is the right stuff from Permatex. That's how long I've been using that shit. I think I did this like 15 years ago, actually. Yeah, anyhow, wow, I'm getting old. Anywho, so I've looked around on either side of the engine, in the back, in the front, and looked at the head gasket on the passenger side because that's all you can really see, but I don't see anything. I don't see any drips or residue, so it definitely is losing coolant. We have a leak because I've topped it up and the owner of the car has topped it up as well, which tells us we have a leak. So let's pressurize it and see what we see. Okay, so one of the most common problems on the BMW is this guy here. There's also a bypass hose that goes on this top cover. Those guys both like to leak here and there. It's not necessarily the hose, it's usually the fitting. However, we're going to pressurize it and keep an eye out right here, inspect this tank, because these guys here, pain in the arse. Now, how you put this in is, of course, you put your adapter on. You're going to sandwich this guy here like so, like a radiator cap, twist it on. Okay, now with the radiator cap, this guy will relieve pressure if you twist it like so. Now, it might be different for whatever application or tool that you get, but you just lock it in like so, and once you feel a little resistance, you know it's good to go. I don't know how many PSI the system goes to, but we're going to give it 15 PSI. That's usually a safe number for almost all vehicles. You can go lower if you're not comfortable with that number. A lot of modern vehicles now are a bit higher, but not a big deal if you get up to 15 PSI for the most part. What we're going to do is pump it up. Now, one thing I should say is before you pump it up, make sure your engine is at a stable temperature, because a lot of times, often, if people don't see a physical leak and they've been told, yeah, I recently topped up, and it's just due to natural evaporation of the fluid, which happens over time. I've had people diagnose things like head gaskets and stupidness like that, and it had nothing to do with that. Just because it was losing temperature, it started to lose pressure, because the temperature increase will drive pressure up and the temperature decrease will drive pressure down. So make sure it's nice and cold whenever you're doing this test, or at a stable temperature. Okay, give it a pump, make sure it's pumping up. If it's not, just check to see whether you're leaking here, because you can't have any leaks. Gonna pump it up till we get to 15, baby. Okay, we're right at 15 now, just slightly past. It seems to be decreasing. So we're gonna twist this just a bit, make sure it's nice and snug. Yeah, so it is leaking for sure, because you can see there, it's decreasing. So let's have a look and see what's going on. I don't see anything up here. We're looking for drips now on the floor. Don't see anything yet, and I don't hear anything other than that pile of shit compressor. And on this side here, nothing. Definitely check to make sure that your system is pressurized. I know mine is, but you want to check it by just touching the rad hose, either top or bottom, and that will tell you. If it's firm, you know it's pressurized. If it's not firm, you screwed something up. Let's peel this cover back a bit because it's busted. Yeah, there's no leaks up top here that I can see from the radiator side of things. Yeah, no leaky. No leaky. Don't do what I just did, because our piece here is busted, so it doesn't really matter. I don't see any leaks. We've lost about a PSI in the last like 3 or 4 minutes. So let's pump it up again, get it to 15. That way we know it's definitely leaking. We just gotta find it. Hearing a little bit of whistling. I don't know if that's a machine or something else. Anyhow, let's take a peek underneath. Do we see any drips? No drips. Now, this is kind of concerning, because usually you should find it relatively quickly. If we can't find it relatively quickly, what we might need to do is rotate the engine. Oftentimes with a crack or a damaged head gasket, when you rotate the engine, you can get this thing to drop significantly. So usually you'll use a tag team system where you have a friend who turns the engine and or watches the gauge and see what happens. And you can also do other things to see if it is a head gasket. You can do a number of things, but for now we're just going to focus on the coolant side of things and hope to God that this guy is not a head gasket, because we do not want to do one on this thing. All right, I'm going to go put this thing up now. We'll take a look, and just keep a ladder handy if you're on a hoist so you can pump this guy up if need be. But we don't have a major leak or a huge leak here, so we should be able to be okay. Yeah, so we've lost more PSI there. Yeah, so we're under 15 again, so we are leaking somewhere. Let's go find it. Now, some good news and some bad news. Good news is we've obviously found the leak. It's not 100% diagnosed yet, but I don't see anything coming from on top of the water pump, so we're assuming it is the water pump. You can see here the stream running down the crank pulley, and the only thing above this guy is, well, two parts: the water pump, and there is a water flange out the front. The water flange doesn't appear to be wet. However, we'd be probably replacing that, at the very least the gasket, at the same time. A lot of you guys can say, well, I could diagnose that by running it. Yeah, you can, but just imagine how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be you would have by diagnosing this through a running car. You wouldn't have a nice stream like this. You'd have shit being blown onto the engine by this wonderful clutch fan up here that you can see. I love those. They actually sound really nice, but they're a pain in the ass to get off. So I hope this demonstrates to you the value of the tool that I showed you in this video, and I hope you understand why it is, us mechanics don't just sort of wing it and do things kind of in a non-professional manner. It is important to have these tools, and it definitely makes your life easier. So yeah, we're not wasting fuel or smelling that burnt fuel, and you can clearly see we have a leak. I'm going to show you now, because we've basically localized where the leak's coming from. It is the front of the engine, and we're going to see if we can lay eyes on the stream. Provided nothing's wet on the top of the water pump, we're going to diagnose it as the water pump or gasket, and we're going to call the customer and find out what we do next, whether we want to spend the money to fix this thing or not. Now, on the bottom of the pan here, you can see it sort of welling up, and you see a bit of green. But when I look in that area, you don't see really any green residue or any sort of coolant residue. So it'd be really hard to diagnose this. And chances are the leak is going to be much more profuse when driving and the vehicle is hot. The reason being is because the pump itself is rotating, which means that it's going to be consistently hitting the portion of the seal that is damaged, or moving it at least, and letting the coolant escape. And of course, the hotter the fluid, the faster it's going to flow. It'd be really hard to sort of diagnose this. Not impossible, but just harder to do overall. It's much easier like this. Anyhow, I'm gonna stop rambling because I'm tired and I'm probably not making much sense. Of course, we'll find that out when we go to edit, but anyhow, if I don't make sense, half that shit will end up in the bloopers, which you should watch because I put time and effort into them, and you'll probably like them, especially if you like people making an ass of themselves. Anyhow, let's try to get a better look at that Uder pump and see what's going on. That's German for water pump in my head. Okay, so simply that guy there, this guy here is our water pump. Okay, that black pulley, that's our clutch fan, the rusted part. This is the air conditioning belt. This little drip here, that guy where it's dripping is basically the bottom of the water pump, and that's where it meets the block. So yeah, this is where our leak is coming from. I'm pretty confident. Up top there, that little silver section is basically the top of the water pump, and I don't see anything from there. It could be possibly dripping down from the flange. We're gonna lower the car, sneak a mirror in there to see if we can determine whether it's the flange or not, but chances are it's the water pump, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I was wrong with my diagnosis, and I am happy that I always do my job as diligently as I can, because this is precisely why you never say 100% with certainty that it is a part unless you can see the fluid coming out, or you can see that there is a problem. Most people would have said, yeah, no, it's the water pump, like I did, because it's a logical explanation. The pump is wet, I don't see anything from the top side. But when doing the job, you got to look at all possible potential issues. You can see the water pump itself, or the clutch fan area. Way down here is the clutch fan right here. Up top here is our coolant flange that I was talking about, which would probably get replaced anyhow if we were doing the water pump. But you can see here, friends, as I touch this, it starts to build back up, right? That is our problem. That is our leak. So now, depending upon the customer's, budget, we can simply just replace this guy here, or we can replace the water pump at the same time if he wants to do some preventative maintenance, but I wouldn't really recommend it. Truthfully, I would just do this first, and then I would decide whether I would want to replace the water pump. Of course, when I get this flange apart, I will be taking a mirror and sticking it behind the water pump to see whether the seal is leaking. And when I say the seal, specifically, I am talking about the pulley. So if you look behind the pulley and there's any sort of caked on residue that looks like coolant, you also have a leak from the water pump. So at that point, I would diagnose it as bad, and then we would, or call it as bad, and then we would replace it. But yeah, you can see here, it's leaking right there. Of course, I don't know, I touched it now and it doesn't seem to be leaking, but out the bottom right there, you can see, oh yeah, look, it looks, well, don't hit the camera, but yeah, it looks loose. And it is, you can see there, you put a little pressure on it and it's starting to seep. You can see the water actually moving. That's the leak. So yeah, diagnosis complete. We have 100% confirmed that the leak is coming from here, or we have at least just the one leak from here. We could have multiple leaks, but fix what you see first and then move on to the next step. All right, there we go. Now, after you have diagnosed the problem, it is imperative that you take this guy off nice and slowly. Now, something I should have said earlier in the video is you do not want to pressurize the system when you're looking for a leak when it is hot. It is not impossible to do, but if you have a hose, say, that is about to split, or you have a plastic pipe, because most of these German crap boxes and most modern cars now come with them, unfortunately, if that thing splits and you have coolant that's sitting at around 99 39 degrees, that shit's going to burn your face off or whatever part of your body it touches. So ideally, do not do it when it is hot. Let it be cold, because you'll also get an accurate reading and you're not chasing your tail trying to figure out where the leak is coming from, unless it is a profuse one which is visible really quickly. Don't do it when it's hot. That being said, you're gonna now take this guy, and that's not the correct pressure. I just pumped it up, so we were down to 14 psi. Now, to show you guys the effect of when you release this, you want to do it nice and slowly, and that's what this guy is for. Don't do it fast. You'll have a rush of fluid come out and it'll spray everywhere and you'll be pissed off. Nice and slowly is what you want. And if, like I say, you're doing this when the car is hot or when it is running, again, same thing, nice and slowly, because hot fluid on your body or your person it's not cool. It's not. I've had that happen to me. Michael, if you watch this video, you'll know. Or Ben. Anyhow, pull this guy off. Be extra gentle, because the plastico garbage doesn't like to be twisted in ways that aren't its original form. It just don't like to be twisted. It'll crack. Look, I am rambling on like crazy today. Reason being is because Enrique Iglesias, one of my really good friends, has given me an espresso this morning, and I haven't shut up, I don't know, man, since like 11 o'clock this morning. So don't blame me, brother. If you don't like it, message Enrico in the comments and tell him you don't want this brother to have any more espressos, especially when he's gonna film. I'm supposed to do another one. I'll probably just ramble on for like 15-20 minutes and just pure bullshit. Anyhow, I mean, it's valuable, but it's all over the place, you know. You gotta pick and choose. Anyhow, put your cap back on and yeah, decide what you're gonna do for repair, and yeah, go from there. Okay, all right, we're done, we're out. Let's go do the ending and call her quits. So yeah, that is basically the process of how I go about diagnosing a cooling system leak. You want to be diligent and make sure you do your best to get a accurate diagnosis of what the problem may be, because nobody wants to spend money they don't have to, especially if you live in Canada, where Ottawa consistently steals it. If you have any questions about it, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. That being said, I hope you found the video informative at the very least, and of course entertaining. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss one of my new videos. And as always, thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. That being said, that piece of garbage compressor's on. Wonderful. That was a regular V6. Or no, sorry. Pretty much the same process for all of those cars as to how that. Okay, what the fuck's your problem? I know you fit, you prick. Relatively easy, potentially, oh, for fuck's sakes, I can't think with that stupid fucking compressor. And that just shows you, brothers, and then we're gonna call the customer and find out whether he wants to pay me lots of money to fix this thing, because he's my really good friend and he should pay me, because fuck you, Rico. That guy there, right there, you can't even see the pointer. There's really no goddamn room in this engine bay. Come on, hold still, Jimmy. Fuck. So now, depending upon, unless it is, now, if you didn't find my excessive rambling funny, entertaining, or somehow pleasurable, that sounds weird. Don't tell me it was pleasurable. It's keep that shit to yourself. Anyhow, if you didn't find it entertaining at the very least, it's not my fault. You have the option to change the channel, and the owner of the car, my good friend Enrique, has given me an espresso this morning, and it has caused this problem. I haven't shut up for about 4 or 5 hours now. I have a headache, but I am lit. Inside my head, it is 100 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? It's not my fault, brother. And if you don't like it, change the fucking channel, all right? Zap another video. Just, all right? Fuck. Don't give me any stupid comments in the comment section. I don't want to hear that shit. No one cares, okay? God damn it. Anyhow, like, share, and subscribe, all right? And share it, you know? Share it to other people and shit. People who are going to watch the full length of video so I can get paid, all right? And if there are any companies out there who want to give me sponsorships, I'm all for it, brother. Just make sure it's a good product, because I ain't gonna lie, and you're probably not gonna like what I say, because as you can tell, I'm rather abrasive. All right, let's move on now. So there you go. That is basically how I usually go about diagnosing my coolant leaks. And yeah, there are many other methods that. Why the fuck does this piece of shit consistently fucking drift over? You fucking piece of garbage, man. Like, settle the fuck down, dude. So there you go. That is generally how I diagnose my cooling systems with my, I guess old school technology at this point. It still works. It's tried, true, and tested. Why the fuck is this glitch? Settle down, you fucking pile of garbage. Woo!